Thanks for coming. Please be seated. Gosh, it's good to be in a part of the world that I'm real familiar with, pretty close to home. Sound like to me some Texans snuck across the border. Delighted to be here at Centenary College. Bill Anderson, the chairman, and Ken Swab, the president. I want to thank the students. Thank the students who here to listen. This is going to be an educational experience for you. I've got a lot of educating to do to convince people not only do we have a problem, but we need to come together and come up with a solution to Social Security. But before I get there, I do want to recognize some people, and I've got a few comments about international politics, the world in which we live. First, I'm sorry Laura isn't with me. Yeah, I know it. She's great, isn't she? She's doing just fine. She's going to be happy to know I saw our mutual friend Ernie the Big Cat Ladd, who is here today. I'll tell her, Cat, I saw you and you're looking good. She's looking good too, by the way. She is a great first lady and a great mom, and I love her dearly. I'm real proud of the job Congressman Jim McCreary is doing. He's one of the smartest, most capable members of the House of Representatives. He said, you make sure you get down to the district, and I said, well, if I put you on Air Force One, will you come with me? He said, how fast can I get on the plane? Senator David Vitter is with us. David, proud you're here. Got two other members of the United States Congress with us today. Congressman Rodney Alexander, proud you're here, Rodney. Rodney's from this part of the world and reflects the values of North Louisiana in the United States Congress. And Bobby Jindal. Bobby, congratulations. Thank you guys for coming. Proud you're here. Looking forward to working with you on solving big problems for our nation. I want to thank Mayor Keith Hightower for the city of Shreveport for being here. Mr. Mayor, I'm honored you're here. I appreciate you coming. Mayor George the Mint of Bossier City. Thank you, George. Proud you two guys are here. Just fill the potholes. You didn't ask for any advice. Well, thank all the other state and local officials who've joined us today. I met a fine young lady named Lindsay Allen at the airport. A couple of her relatives showed up. Probably wondering why I would mention her. I'll tell you why I mention her. She is a volunteer for Hospice of Shreveport Bossier. She is she takes time out of her life to provide comfort for people who are sick. And the reason I mention this is I want particularly the college kids here to understand that if you want to serve your nation, a great way to do so is to take time out of your busy life and love somebody who hurts. If you want to serve your nation, mentor a child. If you want to serve your nation, feed the hungry, provide shelter to the homeless, become a soldier in the army of compassion, and you can help change America. And I want to thank Lindsay Allen. Where are you, Lindsay? There she is. Thanks for coming, Lindsay, and thanks for being a volunteer. World is changing, and the world is becoming more peaceful because more societies are listening to the people that live within their borders and are becoming democracies. Think about what's happened in a quick period of time. We defended ourselves, we upheld doctrine, we liberated millions from the clutches of the Taliban, and last fall, millions went to the polls to vote for a president. And that's important. It's important because free societies are peaceful societies. Palestinians voted. And I believe someday, I believe it's within reach, that there will be a Palestinian democracy living side by side with Israel in peace. And then the people in Iraq defied the murder of terrorists and said, you will not intimidate us because we want to be free. And by the millions, they went to the polls to vote for their leaders. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I was pleased but not surprised, because I understand that freedom is not America's gift to the world. Freedom is the Almighty God's gift to each man and woman in this world. And no tyrant and no dictator can extinguish the desire for people to live in freedom. So during the next 4 years of my administration, I will use our considerable influence and work with our friends and allies to help others around the world realize their chance to be free. Because I understand freedom and democracy will make this world a peaceful place for generations to come. I also want to say something about my trip to Europe. I had a great trip to Europe. I talked to our friends and allies there. We got a common agreement with the French, for example, to make it abundantly clear to Syria that the Syrian troops and Syrian intelligence officers must leave Lebanon so Lebanon's democracy can grow and flourish, as well as we work together on the issue of Iran to make sure that we speak with one voice to the Iranian regime, that they should abandon any ambitions for nuclear weapons for the sake of peace in the world. I am pleased that we are speaking with one voice with our European friends. I look forward to working with our European friends to make it abundantly clear to the Iranian regime that the free world will not tolerate them having a nuclear weapon. A couple of other points I want to make before we get to the issue at hand. I do want to talk right quick about the economy, and one way to make sure this economy continues to grow. Last week we got news that we added 262,000 new jobs last month. That means more Americans are working today than ever before in our nation's history. And that's positive news. Our economic plans are working, but there's more to do. And as I gave a speech in Ohio earlier this week, and I made it clear to Congress, stop debating about energy and get me an energy plan that encourages conservation, environmentally sensitive exploration for natural gas and hydrocarbons here in the United States. Let's encourage renewable sources of energy. Let's use taxpayers' money to explore ways to have clean coal technology. What I'm saying to you is that we need to get moving on becoming less dependent on foreign sources of oil. And I want to thank McCrary and Vitter and Bobby and Rodney for their work on this important issue. And I believe if we keep talking the issue about energy independence, we'll get us a bill. And to get us a bill that makes sense for all Americans. Now I want to talk about Social Security. It's a big issue. It's a big issue because it affects everybody's life. First, let me start off by telling you, FDR did a good thing. Franklin Roosevelt did a good thing when he set up the Social Security system. You know why I say that? I say that because it's helped a lot of retirees. It has worked. It's worked, and therefore, one of the things that I want to tell the people here in this audience, and all across Louisiana and in East Texas, and whoever else is listening, if you're getting a check, nothing will change. If you have retired, not one thing is going to change when it comes to Social Security. The United States government will keep its commitment. I don't care what the advertisements say. I don't care what the political pamphlets say. I don't care what the politicians say. Nobody's going to take away your check. But the math has changed since Franklin Roosevelt was the president. When they set up the system, there was a lot of workers paying into the system for every retiree. As a matter of fact, in 1950, there were 16 workers for each beneficiary. That meant the system could work. It's a pay-as-you-go system, by the way. People pay in, and the money goes out to pay for the benefits. Some people say, well, what about the Social Security Trust? As if the government collects your money and holds it in your account and then when you retire, it gives it back to you. That's not how it works. The government collects your money and they spend it. And they spend it on retirement benefits, but they were spending on, or we spend it on other things too. Since 1950, a couple of things have happened. People are having fewer babies, and the baby boomers are getting ready to retire. I happen to be one. Matter of fact, I turned 62 in 2008. That's a good enough time for me to retire. Just about right timing. And there's a lot of me, people like me. There are a lot of baby boomers. I'm just the beginning of the baby boomer era. There's a whole lot of people getting ready to retire, and we are living longer than the previous generation and the previous generation. So you're beginning to get, when I said the math is changing, I hope you're beginning to get a picture of what I'm talking about. More retirees, living longer, plus we've been promised more benefits than the previous generation. A lot of people making more, getting paid more benefits, living longer years, and fewer people paying into the system. And that means we got a problem. Today there's 3 to 1 paying into the system. In 20 years there'll be two workers for every retiree. It means when you're working, you're having to pay a lot more for me than previous generations. And so what ends up happening is in 2018, as you can see on that chart, the system goes into the red. In other words, more money going out than coming in. 2020, and it goes worse every year. 2027, it's going to cost $200 billion for the government to fund the promises to the baby boomers like me. That's $200 billion above the payroll taxes we're collecting. And every year it gets worse. So if you're a younger person sitting out there, you ought to start to say, my goodness, the system doesn't look very good for me. It's fine for seniors. It's fine for those who are near retirement. It is not in good shape for the people who are going to have to pay for the baby boomers who are fixing to retire. And so I've seen a problem. And I think it's a significant enough problem to put it square in the agenda. My job as the president is to confront problems and not pass them on to future presidents and future Congresses. And that's why I've come to Shreveport, Louisiana. To explain, and as plainly as I can, in plain Texas, that we have a problem. And the problem is, how is a younger generation going to pay for all the promises that the government can't keep? Major tax increases, significant benefit cuts. That's what's going to happen unless we act now. Now, people say, well, 2018 is a long way down the road. Well, it's not. It is right around the corner. It is close by. It means it is time for people from both political parties to set aside our partisanship and come to the table. And so in my State of the Union address, I stood up and said all options are on the table. I said, if you've got a good idea, bring them forward. I'm interested in listening to them. I said, if you've got an idea as to how to permanently fix Social Security, we don't need a Band-Aid approach. We need to fix it once and for all. So we can say to the American people, we have done our duty, bring forward your ideas. Tim Penny here is on this stage. He is a former Democrat congressman. You're going to hear him talk. He has had some good ideas. I'm interested in any idea, and I put out some of my own as to how to permanently fix it and how to make sure the system is as good as it can be for youngsters. And one of them is to allow young workers to put aside some of your own money in a personal savings account. And let me tell you why I think that's important. First of all, that unto itself is not going to fix Social Security. We need to do more than that. But it is a way to say to younger workers that you're going to be able to come closer to the benefits that have been promised to you. Because by putting money aside, you will be able to, in a private account, private markets, investing in the private markets, you'll be able to get a better rate of return on your own money than the government could get on your own money. And as that rate of return compounds, as you save, your account grows bigger and bigger and bigger. If you're a worker making $35,000 over your lifetime, and this plan says you can take 4% of your payroll taxes and set it aside in a personal savings account, that by the time you retire, having invested in conservative stocks and bonds, you will have a capital base of $250,000 in your personal account. That's how interest works. It compounds. It grows. Now, people say, what does that mean, a personal savings account? Can I take the money and go right down to the road where I was staying and in this part of the world and put it in the slots? You can't do that. In other words, there is a set of investment vehicles, conservative design, to get a better rate of return than what your money is getting in the Social Security system, but you get to choose a mix of stocks and bonds. We've done this before, by the way. Federal employees get to do this. Federal employees get to take some of their own money and put it in an employee thrift savings plan that grows, it compounds with interest. It's happening. People know what I'm talking about. This isn't a new concept. The only thing new is that it'll be a part of the Social Security program. Now, once you retire, you can't take all your money out at once. You hold that money in an account, and you get the interest from the corpus of your account to complement the Social Security check, however big that is, that the government pays you. So in other words, it's a part of the Social Security system, retirement system. And let me tell you some of the benefits of this. First of all, you own it. It's yours. The government can't take it away from you. You know what brings joy into my heart? When I hear that more minority families own a home now than ever before in our nation's history. I love the fact that more people are owning something. There are more business owners. Small businesses are flourishing across America. When a person owns something, they have a vital stake in the future of the country. When somebody opens up an account that says, here's your stocks and bonds, and here's how they've been growing over the last quarter, people will say, well, I think I better pay attention to what the government's doing to make sure that they put policies in place that will make the economy grow. Secondly, you can pass this account on to whomever you choose. It's yours. The Social Security system right now, as you'll hear, isn't fair for people who pass away prior to age 62. The money just goes away. But under this plan, you'll have an asset base, something you own, something you can leave to whomever you choose. Thirdly, I like the idea of families being able to pass wealth from one generation to the next. And I think it ought to be in families all across all kinds of families ought to be able to do this. You know, there's this kind of sense about, well, this may not work because some people aren't capable of investing, as if the investor class was only a certain type of person. That's not what I agree with. I think that everybody's plenty capable. I think that everybody ought to be given the opportunity to save their own money and put it aside as a part of the Social Security Trust. Finally, it makes sense to encourage savings in America. The more savings we have, the more capital there is for growth in the economy. One of the things we're going to have to be careful about is not saving enough money. The capitalist system works by encouraging savings so that there's capital to invest, so that small businesses can flourish, so that the entrepreneurial spirit stays strong. And so this is an idea that I think Congress needs to consider, and I put it on the table. And I expect people to come to that table in good faith to discuss not only my ideas, but their ideas. Now, I'm having a good time traveling around our country. I like to get out of Washington frequently. I've been to this last couple of days, I've been to Tennessee and Alabama and Kentucky and now Louisiana. I'm heading home for dinner. Next week I'm going down to Florida, check on the brother. After that, I'm going to go out of Crawford. I'm going to head out west to Arizona and New Mexico and Colorado. The reason I'm telling you this is I want everybody involved in the process to know that I believe the American people are going to determine the fate of this issue, and I intend to take my message out week after week after week so that people can hear it. All right, ready to go? Tim Penny's with us. Great state of Minnesota, served in the United States Congress, and you're about to hear an articulate advocate of making sure the Social Security system is reformed and modernized. Tim, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. It's good to be in Shreveport. Good to see my friend Jim McCrary, the other members of Congress over here. And I got out of Congress 10 years ago, in part because of frustration that we weren't tackling enough of the big issues, and I decided to get home to Minnesota and get back to a normal life for a while. But I applaud you for putting this issue on the table, because you're right. Leadership is about taking on the tough stuff, and you're to be commended for that.
Thank you.
You know, former Democratic Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan once said that we're all entitled to our own opinion, but we're not entitled to our own facts. And when it comes to Social Security reform, this really should not be a partisan issue, because the facts are clear. Whether you look to the Social Security trustees or to the Government Accountability Office or to the Congressional Budget Office, all of these expert agencies tell us the same thing. You've outlined some of the statistics yourself just now, Mr. President. They tell us that by the year 2018, we won't have enough payroll taxes to continue paying benefits, and we're going to have to start redeeming the trust fund, except the trust fund spent. So how do we come up with that money? We cut other spending, we raise other taxes, or we borrow. We borrow to repay the debt, which doesn't seem to make an awful lot of sense, but those are the only options available to us. They also agree, and these are facts that all can see, that we are going from a society in which there are 3.5 workers today to a society in which there'll be 2 workers for retirees by the year 2030. So you can see that that's unsustainable. A former economic advisor to a previous president once said, if something is unsustainable, then eventually it will stop. Well, the Social Security program, the way it's currently designed, is unsustainable. But will we have a hard landing or a soft landing? And I think by preparing and planning ahead and phasing in the changes, we can have a reasonable landing that assures that future retirees, like the young lady here on the stage with us tonight, can look forward to retirement that's as secure or even more secure than the retirement we offer people today. So let's just look at that. You talked about the changes since the program was created, how many workers there were in 1950, about 15 or 16 for every retiree, 3.5 today, 2 by the year 2030. How have we accommodated all of that over the course of time? Primarily through payroll tax increases. So we've taxed each generation of workers more to make sure that there's more money in the system for the current generation of retirees. Well, that works for a while, but how much is enough? When is enough enough? We had $3,000 subjected to Social Security taxes back when the program was created, and we charged a 2% tax on that $3,000 of income. Today, we have 12.5% tax applied to up to $90,000 of income. How high will the tax have to go, and looking at this other chart over here, how high will the tax have to go to pay benefits in the future when we only have 2 workers supporting every retiree? I dread to think it could be close to 20% by then, if that's our only answer to Social Security's future. So we need to think creatively about solutions to this problem and to put all options on the table. Should we promise future retirees bigger benefits than today's retirees? Bigger benefits than they would need simply to keep pace with inflation? That's a question that needs to be asked. Do we do something about the retirement age in the future, given the fact that we are living longer? Is it reasonable to look at maybe some modest changes there and phase those in over time? I'm not saying what the answer has to be. I'm just saying that we shouldn't be afraid to talk about this. But you need to talk about personal accounts as part of the fix. That's the only way we get ahead of the game. And it's the only way we start converting this program into not just a safety net program, but a program that builds a nest egg for every single American worker. And if you look at the average worker today making $35,000, $40,000 a year, if they're in sort of what we call the middle income range, they're paying $4,000, sometimes $5,000 a year into this program. Over their working life, if they work for 40 years, they will pay somewhere between $160,000 and $200,000 into Social Security. And then they have to count on living at least 15 years to get that money back. So if they die young, the benefit dies with them. If you just took 25% of the taxes that we now put into Social Security, and for younger workers began a process where they could set that aside in an investment account, a mutual fund that's safe and well managed, that 25% of their Social Security taxes in the same period of time would deliver for them a nest egg that's worth at least $160,000, perhaps $200,000, perhaps even better. But that's a nest egg they would own. It would be over and above a basic safety net. It would be money that would make their retirement more secure. So I think, regardless what else we do to fix this program, to shore it up for the long term, as we face the facts, and the facts are very real, personal accounts need to be part of the mix, because it's the best way for us to promise tomorrow's workers that the money they pay into this system will give them the kind of secure retirement that they need.
Well, I appreciate that. I think, as I told you, the guy's articulate and he's sensible. It's a common sense approach. Thanks for coming, Tim. All right. Gwen Comer, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Now,
Good to see you.
they tell me you didn't sneak across the border, did you?
Yeah, I sneaked across. No one was looking.
You're from close to Jefferson, Texas.
Gray is about 20 miles east of Jefferson.
One of the great parts of my home state is East Texas, by the way.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is Gwen Comer, and I am 73 years old. And like I said, I live at Gray, which is about 20 miles east of Jefferson, and I'm active in my church at Gray Baptist Church, and I'm in the Eastern Star, and I volunteer at North Cattle Medical Center Hospital in Vivian, and which I'm loving. And I married my husband, Sidney Ray Comer, in 1951, and he worked for 40 years in different jobs, and when he died in 1990, he was 58 years old. And of course, I never drawed anything off of his Social Security. I worked at America Norrit, which is Norrit Americas now, in Marshall, Texas, and I worked there for 30 years as a senior lab technician, and I enjoyed my work. And now I draw half off of Social Security and half off of my retirement.
See, it's interesting. Listen real carefully to what she said. She said her husband worked for 40 years, passed away, and his money just, their savings, the money he worked hard to earn on their behalf, just gone. Now, she's going to get Social Security as a result of her job, but that money just isn't around. And had he had the chance to put money aside in a personal account, that personal account would have been passed on to her as part of their family's asset base.
That's right. I got to tell about my grandchildren.
Any doubt in your mind that you're not going to get your check?
No, indeed.
That's important for people to hear. I understand. A lot of people around the country, a lot of people in Louisiana, a lot of people in Texas rely on that Social Security check.
That's right.
And it frightens people to hear political people like me talking about the issue, because they're thinking, well, really what he's saying is he's giving me a warning. The government's not going to give me my check. I campaigned on this issue in 2000 and 2004. In 2000, they said if George W. gets elected, you're not going to get your check. That's what some of the ads were. I did get elected, and people got their check. I want you to remind your neighbors of that. You got any grandkids? How many grandkids?
My husband and I were blessed with four children. We have 12 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. So we're blessed.
You sure are. See, this is a generational issue. I'm hearing from more and more people who've retired saying, now that you've comforted me, you better take care of my grandchildren.
That's right.
That's an important issue, and I want the seniors here to understand that this issue is really about your grandchildren, and we want your advice on how best to make sure that the system works for your grandchildren. There's a lot of grandparents who, when they hear the math, realize that the numbers are going to be pretty significant when it comes time to either raising taxes or doing whatever needed to make the promises, and that now's the time for government to take care of the next generation. Social Security has worked for this generation. It really has. And the fundamental question is, can we make it work for the next generation coming up? That's the task at hand. That's the debate. That's the issue. Good job. You ready? Ms. Helen Lyons, sitting right here next to the President of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome.
Thank you. This is a great honor These moments will never be forgotten, nor will time erase. My name is Helen Lyons. I am 78 years old, a widow. We were blessed, my husband and I, with 3 sons. They were educated in Oakland, California, and all 3 of them are ministers. And this is my oldest son, Bishop Brandon.
Yeah. Are you still listening to your mother?
Yes, indeed,
Yes.
I better.
Me too.
I was born in Texas,
There you go.
and I came to California. I came to California during World War II, and there I met my husband. We were married in 1953. And then I received my education, and I attended the School of Nursing in San Francisco. And although I worked in the workforce for 41 years, I worked in the hospital for 35 years, and I enjoyed the work. It was very rewarding. And then my husband passed. I retired in 1999, and my husband passed March 6th of 2000. So I was in California for about 4 years after that, and in 2004, I relocated to Shreveport, Louisiana, to this beautiful city.
Thank you for taking responsibility for your mom after she took responsibility for you all these years.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've already answered my Social Security question that I had
Bring
for
it up
you.
again. I can't answer it enough.
All right. Will our benefits as seniors, citizens, be affected?
See, that's the question a lot of people are asking, and I know that. I know a lot of people are asking whether or not they're going to get their check. And we're sitting behind stage, and Helen Lyons looks at me, and she's kind of wondering, what is this guy all about, I've agreed to get on the stage with him, and they got a plan to make sure that I don't get what I need to live on. That's a lot of folks are asking that question. And I'm going to say it here again, and I'm going to say it all around the country, because this is as Tim said, the truth. You're going to get your check. The government will honor this commitment. What I can't tell you we're going to be able to honor is our commitment to your son and your grandchildren. I can tell you we'll honor our commitment to you. But I cannot make that promise until Congress comes together with the administration to make the promise to the children and grandchildren of this good woman. But thank you for asking me that question.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Again.
I am deeply concerned about my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren.
Yes, I don't blame you. Particularly after you listen to the facts. Why don't you introduce your son? Was he a good boy growing up?
Mr. President, he was.
That's good.
This is my son, Bishop Larry Brandon. He's pastor of the Praise Temple Full Gospel Baptist Church of Shreveport, Louisiana.
That's good. Very well done. Bishop?
Mr. President, I'm certainly honored to be here, and I am Bishop Larry Brandon, senior pastor and founder of the Praise Temple Full Gospel Baptist Cathedral right here in Shreveport, Louisiana. I also serve as the council member of the Full Gospel Baptist Church International, where Bishop Paul S. Morton is our presiding bishop, and I serve as the presiding prelate of the Louisiana Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship, and I'm also the newly appointed chancellor for the University Christian Preparatorial School here
You
in
have any
Shreveport,
spare time?
Louisiana. Wow, my wife asks the question all the time. My wife is here, Wanda Brandon. I'm thankful
Good, thank
for her.
you. Look forward to seeing you after this is over.
And my children, Jasmine and Isaiah, they need a good excuse for missing school today. So, your program is very attractive to me, and of course, I really appreciate your leadership. I teach our members how to run towards their Goliath, as David ran towards Goliath and slayed him. So I thank God for your approach, that you're running towards this Goliath, to slay this Goliath, because I'm very concerned. Yes. I'm very concerned about Social Security in its present state. So at our church, we have a financial literacy program co-sponsored by the FDIC. It's called the Money Smart program.
Yeah, let's stop there for a minute, because this is an important part of helping introduce people to financial literacy. I mean, there's programs all over the country. People say, well, there's certain people can't invest. You know, they just don't know about it, or, you know, it's risky if we let certain people invest. Now, the way to tackle the issue is not to deny people the great aspect of ownership, but to reach out to faith organizations, community-based organizations, and help people become financially literate. We shouldn't run away from ownership. We ought to provide the means to encourage ownership, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's face it square on. There are some neighborhoods in which financial literacy has not been passed on from one generation to the next. And we've got to break that cycle. We've got to do a better job. And so, Pastor, thank you for taking that on. And I'm glad to know the government is working with the faith-based community to reach out into all neighborhoods in Shreveport, Louisiana, and elsewhere to help people become more financially literate. Keep going.
Sure. Thank you. But thank you for empowering Americans, and that's what I'm all about, empowering people. We have some elderly here from our congregation, and I better mention them or I won't keep a job. But I'm concerned about the elderly retiring in poverty. And secondly, I'm also concerned about child benefits, survivor benefits.
Right. Let me talk about a couple of things. We're working on the retirement aspect of Social Security, but one way to make sure that the survivor benefits are whole and intact is to give a person the opportunity to develop an asset base that you can pass on to whomever you want. That is a tangible asset. It's not a promise. It is a tangible asset to pass on to whomever you want. That's one of the major differences between the Social Security system that I envision and the current system. And so there'll be a survivor benefit aspect to Social Security, but it'll be enhanced by this notion of asset accumulation. And secondly, his question is a good question, and that is it possible to design a system that makes it more fair for people who are impoverished? Can we work with Congress to make the system as progressive as possible? And the answer is absolutely. We want to work with Congress to do that. We want the retirement system to be a solid safety net for all our citizens. I've talked to Jim McCrary about this. He's got a compassionate heart. He understands the ability to make the system work for all. And so I want to thank you for bringing that up, Pastor. My attitude about this is that if people have got a good idea as to how to make the system work to help to make sure people don't end up in poverty at retirement, please bring their ideas forward. All ideas should be on the table to make this system permanently solved, not a 35-year fix or a 75-year fix, which never turns out to be a 75-year fix, by the way. Let me remind you, when you hear the rhetoric 75-year fix, in 1983, and Tim was in Congress then, they worked on solving the problem of Social Security. They said, we'll put together a 75-year solution. That's 1983. Well, we're sitting here in 2005. It didn't make it very long. That's because the demographics are changing dramatically, and we've got to address the math to permanently fix this. I'm not interested in Band-Aids, 75-year fixes. I want there to be a permanent solution to Social Security. You got anything else you want to say? Sarah Joy Hayes, representing the youth of America, as you can see, at least on this stage.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. You can handle it.
Thank you.
You attend
Louisiana State University.
LSNU. I was honored to give the graduation speech there last year. Tell them thank you.
Will do.
Why are you sitting here?
Well, I'm a senior in communication studies. I graduate next December, and I currently work part-time at the Gap. And every couple of weeks,
You're probably going to give me some advice on my clothes.
we'll save that for later.
Okay.
Every couple of weeks, about $40 is deducted from my paycheck, and that's going into Social Security. But I'm afraid that with the system as it stands right now, that will not provide a safety net for me when I'm ready to retire.
Yeah, we're happy you're putting in the 40 right now, aren't we? Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. The question is, will there be something for you?
Exactly. And with your new reforms, I think that this is a positive thing for my generation especially, and I think it will also give us incentive to study economy and to know what's going on around us, as well as educate us in how to invest our own money wisely.
Yeah, it's amazing, you know, there is a lot of people are learning what it means to invest their own money, 401ks. I presume people out here have got a 401k. That's a defined contribution plan. That is your money. You're watching it grow. You're investing it, and it becomes your part of your retirement package. Younger, you know, I don't remember when we were coming up talking about 401ks. I certainly don't remember worrying about whether or not Social Security would be solvent either. I mean, it was taken for granted. And then all of a sudden, we showed up on the ledgers saying, give us our checks starting in 4 years. And so what Sarah's saying is she's not so sure her generation can carry the load, particularly since there's going to be 2 workers for every retiree. You know, they asked a 21-year-old, one time a 21-year-old person told me, she said, and I think this came out in a survey, that you're more likely to see a UFO than get the Social Security check. Is that the way you're
I think that's probably a safe consensus on how we feel.
Well, it's an interesting concept, you know, when you think about it. Once we assure the seniors they're going to get their checks, and grandparents start asking elected officials, and Sarah Joy starts asking elected officials, what are you going to do about us? See, that's where the debate is going to be headed. Because you're going to get your check if you're getting if you've retired. It's the people coming up that are starting to ask the question. And one of the reasons I asked Sarah Joy to join us is because she's representative of a lot of people. They say, oh, don't worry, 21-year-olds don't pay attention to this. I don't think it's true.
Neither do I.
That's good. You got any other wisdom?
Well, I've been imparted some wisdom by some student government presidents. I've been working on executive staff at LSU for the past couple of years, so I've been blessed to be a part of that system.
So people are talking about this.
Yes, sir.
That's important, and they're going to keep talking about it, because I'm going to keep talking about it. I want people to understand, people who are 21 years old, that you're facing a steep hill to climb if the government doesn't act. And there's a lot of talk in Washington about, you know, Bush brought this up. Why did he bring it up? And I've told you why I brought it up. But I also believe this. I believe when the people figure out we have a problem and seniors hear that nothing's going to change, woe to the politician who doesn't come to the table. Woe to the person who tries to block this for partisan reasons. The people of this country want problem solvers, not problem creators. They are unhappy with the status quo. It's time to come together and save this Social Security system for generations to come. I'm honored you gave me a chance to come to Shreveport, Louisiana. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless our country.